afternoon to you all. Trust you are all doing well. And I hope you are following the directives of the government, practicing the social distancing protocols. Yes. Let's come in hand and let's fight against this pandemic. I am your facilitator for today's study board. Without wasting my time, let's move on to today's topic. Today, we'll be treating fractions. And under fractions, we have a sub-topic called Order of Operations, into bracket, BODMAS. Order of Operations, into bracket, BODMAS. When solving fractions involving more than these signs, the off sign, the multiplication sign, the division sign, the addition sign, and the subtraction sign, we need to use the term called BODMAS. What is BODMAS? BODMAS is brackets of division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. Before we can solve for any question, you need to follow the steps being used in solving for such a question. Let's go through the steps. Step 1. Deal with anything in bracket first. When given a question and there is any bracket in it, deal with it. Step 2. Deal with O, which is the off. If there is any, it says deal with O equals off if there is any. When a question is being given to you, if there is off in the question, please deal with it if there is any. Step 3. Deal with D, which equals division. If there is any division sign in it, deal with that one too. Step 4. Deal with M equals multiplication if there is a multiplication sign in it. So when given the question and you find yourself to be, or you find a multiplication sign in it, deal with that one too. Step 5. Deal with A equals addition. When you have an addition sign in it, deal with that one too. And the last step for the day is deal with S equals subtraction. When you have a subtraction sign in it, deal with that one too. With these 6 steps, I know now when given a question, given any trial work, you can solve it. Because with these steps, step 1 said, when you have a bracket in it, deal with it. When you have off in it, deal with the off sign. When you have a multiplication sign, you also deal with it. When you also have a division sign, don't leave it away, deal with it. Addition sign, you also deal with it. When you have a subtraction sign, deal with that one too. So now, so far as we've now gotten through the steps, let's take one example and see how far we can go about this example. Before that, let's clean our steps and let's go through the first example. The first example, we have one whole number 2 over 3 minus one whole number 3 over 4 divided by 2 whole number 5 over 8. This is the question. What do you do as a mathematics student? Before you can solve for any question, don't forget your solution. We write our solution. After writing the solution, what do? We just went through our steps. The first step said, if you have a bracket in it, deal with the bracket first. In the question, you can see we have a bracket there. What do? Let's deal with the bracket first before we can do anything else. Before we can deal with the bracket, we need to change all the mixed fraction into improper. How do you do that? In changing the mixed fraction into improper, we multiply the denominator by the whole number plus the numerator over the denominator. Hope I'm clear. Let's do that. 3 multiplied by 1 is 3 plus 2 giving you 5 over 3 minus the bracket 4 times the whole number 1, which is 4, plus 3 giving you 7, 7 over 4, divided by 8 times 2 is 16. 16 plus 5 is 21. 21 over 8. We are done changing our mixed fraction into improper fraction. What do? We are now coming to apply our steps in this. Step 1 said, if you have a bracket in it, deal with it. We have a bracket here, so let's deal with the bracket. We have 5 over 3 minus, we want to change the division sign to multiplication so that we can simplify. 7 over 4. How do we change division sign to multiplication? Before you can change a division sign to multiplication, your right hand side fraction is being reciprocated. What do you mean by reciprocal? It's a situation whereby the denominator tends to be the numerator and the numerator tends to be the denominator. Let's do that. You bring addition, your subtraction sign, and the denominator tends to be the numerator, and the numerator tends to be what? The denominator. We now have 5/3 minus, open bracket, 7/4 times 8/21. What do you do? We are still having the bracket there, so we still deal with it. So we now move on. 5/3 minus, when you have something like this is cross multiply. So check whether any number of them can simplify or cancel out or can divide each other. You know 7 can divide 21. 7 divides itself 1 and divides 21 how many times? 3 times. 4 and 8 to 4 can divide 8. 4 divides itself 1 and divide 8 2 times. We can now multiply and get our number. So we have 1 times 2 to be 2 and 1 times 3 to be what? 3. We can now take off our bracket from there. So we have 5/3 minus 2/3. When you have a question like this, you all know a normal fraction given to you like this, you need to find LCM. But bear in mind, when the fraction has the same denominators, the numbers of the denominators are the same, do not find for LCM. Just add or subtract what you have over one of the denominators. So let's do it. You know, we have the same denominators, which is 3. So what do? You just subtract the 5 and 2 over one of the denominators. 5 minus 2 is what? 3. 3 over one of the denominators. 3/3. For you to get your real mark or the actual mark, you need to simplify. How do you simplify? You know 3 can divide 3. So 3 divides itself 1 and divides itself 1. You have one whole number. This is our final answer. And as you can see, it's very simple when we are dealing with the steps. When we started, we said that before you can solve for such a question like this, as the first step said, if you have any bracket in it, deal with it. We dealt with the bracket. So you can see, we changed the mixed fraction into improper. After changing it, we dealt with the bracket again. We multiplied through and we simplified. After everything, we had our answer to what? One whole number. I know where you are viewing from, you are getting what I'm trying to say. With the next example, I know everything will be well. Let's clean this and let's take our next example. Our next example, which is example 2. For example 2, we have two whole number, 1/3 plus 1/2 of 3 whole number, 1/3. This is our second example, and we are still dealing with our steps. You can't solve any fraction involved in these signs without the BODMAS steps. With this, the first step said, if you have any bracket in it, deal with it. But as you cannot see, with this question, there is no bracket. But the second step said, if you have the off sign in it, deal with it. You can bear with me that we have the off sign in it. And you all know that off means multiplication. So, as a mathematician, don't forget your solution. Write your solution, underline it neatly, and we move on. Before we can change the off multiplication, as we did for the first example, let's change all the mixed fraction into improper, as we did, by multiplying the denominator by a whole number added to the numerator over the denominator. Hope I'm clear. Let's do that. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1, 7, 7/3, plus 1/2. We now change our off to what? Multiplication, times 3 times 3 is 9. 9 plus this is what? 10. You bring your brackets there. After bringing your brackets, you can now use your first step, which is deal with the bracket first. So we come here, 7/3 plus the bracket. You know 2 can divide 10. Yes, 2 cancels itself 1 and divides 10 5 times. 3 cannot divide it. So we multiply 1 times 5, giving us 5 over 1 times 3. 3. We take off the brackets, giving us 7/3 plus 5/3. If you could remember, the first example, I said, because we are having the same numbers to be the denominators, there's no need of finding LCM to waste your time. What you have to do is subtract or add the numerators over one of the denominators. You can see in this question too, we have the same what? Numbers for the denominators. So what do? We just add our numerators over one of them. So let's add the numerators. 7 plus 5 is 12. 12 over 3. For you to get the actual mark, you need to simplify to the lowest form. How do you simplify this? You know, 3 can divide 12. How many times? 3 divides itself 1 and divide 4. And divide 12 4 times. I told you earlier on that any number over 1 is that same number. What do we have here? We have 4 over 1. It's the same number to 4. So it's what? 4 whole number. This is it. And it's very simple when you are using your steps regularly. You just need to use your steps very well. After using the steps, there is no need to find any difficulties in solving such a question like this. Let's go through again. As we said, because the question wasn't having a bracket sign, but we're having the off sign, we dealt with the off sign by changing all the mixed fraction into improper, multiplying the denominator by the whole number added to the numerator over the denominator. After doing that, we brought our bracket, we dealt with the bracket, simplified out. After this, we wanted to find for the LCM, but because they were having the same numbers to be the denominators, we just added the numerators. We had 12 over 3, we divided through, and we had 4. I know you've gotten it with this second example. But for me to know that you've gotten it, I just want to give you a trial work wherever you are viewing me from. Just take this trial work and you have only 30 seconds to solve this. That's for example 3. You have only 30 seconds to solve this trial work. So we have 3 whole number, 1 over 2 plus 7 whole number, divided by 4 whole number, 1 over 3, minus 3 whole number. This is your trial work, and you have less than 30 seconds to solve it. For me to know that you've gotten it, try it wherever you are doing it from. As I said, I gave you less than 30 seconds and the time is up. I'm just assisting you in solving your trial work. What do? You need to write our solution and move on. Solution. I know after assisting you, you mark yourself wherever you are viewing from. Whether you had it correct or you had it wrong. It's up to you. Let's start solving. What do? We are still using our general steps. The first step said if you have a bracket in it, deal with the bracket. Let's deal with the bracket by changing all the mixed fraction into improper. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 plus this is 7. 7 over 2 plus the 7 whole number. You all know 7 whole number is over 1. So we have 7 over 1. Divided by 3 times 4 is 12. Plus this 13 over 3 minus 3 over 1. We still have our bracket there, so we need to take off our bracket from there. How do we take off the bracket? Before you can take off the bracket, just deal with what is in the bracket. This is an addition fraction. What do? Let's find for the LCM. How do you find for LCM? The LCM is 2. 2 divides itself 1. 1 times 7 is 7. Plus 1 divides 2. 2 times 7, 14. equals 14 plus 7 is 21. 21 over 2. Divided by, we find LCM, which is 3. 3 divides itself 1. 1 times 13 is 13. Minus 1 times 1 divided by 3 is 3. 3 multiplied by 3 is what? 9. 13 minus 9, we have 4. 4 over 3. We can now divide 21 over 2 divided by 4 over 3. Let's do that. We have 21 over 2 divided by 4 over 3. As I said for our first example and second example, when you have a division sign, you can't just solve it. You need to change the division's word, multiplication. How do you do that? This is a situation whereby your right hand side fraction is being turned upside down. That is what is called the reciprocal way. Reciprocal. To reciprocate the right hand side fraction. How do you reciprocate it? It is a situation whereby the denominator tends to be the numerator and the numerator tends to be the denominator. So we have 21 over 2 times, this tends to be the numerator and this tends to be the denominator. Whereby we have 3 over 4. When you have something like this, what do you do? Check through. You know this is cross multiply. Whether the number can divide itself. If you can't divide, just multiply through and see whether you can simplify. With this, you can see none of them can divide each other. 4 cannot divide 21 exactly. It will divide it with a remainder, and that's not what we want. We want it to divide it exactly with no remainder. 2 cannot divide 3 exactly. So what do? You just multiply the 21 times 3 and the 2 times 4. So let's do that. 21 times 3 gives you what? 63 over 2 for 8. You have 63 over 8. For you to get your actual mark, as I said, you need to what? Simplify. How do we simplify this? For you to simplify, check whether a number can cancel these two. Can any number cancel 63 and 68? Sorry, 63 and 8. There is no number. 8 cannot divide 63 exactly. If you divide it, there will be a remainder. What do? This is what? An improper fraction. So for you to get the actual mark and the correct marks, you need to change this word, mixed fraction. Because you know 8 cannot carry 63 items. It can't be possible. So how do you divide it? 8 divided by 63 with mixed fraction. When reciting your multiplication times table, that's 8 times table. How do you do it? You know 8 times 7 is 56. But 8 times 8 is 64. The 64 is more than the 63. So we take 7 whole number, which is 7 whole number, 56. 63 minus 56. What do we get? 7. We have 7 over 8. This is your actual marks. How did we do this? You know, when 8 is being multiplied by 7, it's 56. Added with the 7, giving us 63 over 8 as it is. With this, no marker or no inspector will mark you out of the number you are expecting. You see how it is? I know you are marking yourself wherever you are viewing from. Yes, I know most of you had it, but most of you too didn't get it. Don't worry. With the next example I'm going to give it to you, I know you will get it. Let's take the next example. That is example 4. Example 4. We have 2 whole number 1 over 3 plus 4 whole number 1 over 2 divided by 8 whole number 1 over 5. This is your next trial work. And with this, as I gave you 30 seconds for the first one, you have 1 minute for this work. You are using 1 minute for this. Try your hands on it.
Row, row, row your boat gently down
I hope you are done with the example. Yes. Let me assist you with it and let's see whether you had it correct or you had it wrong. Before we start with the example, let's write our solution first. We have a bracket in the question, so we do what? We deal with the bracket first. How do you deal with the bracket? By changing the mixed fraction into improper. 3 multiplied by 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. We have 7 over 3, plus 2 multiplied by 4 is 8. 8 plus 1 is what? 9. 9 over 2. You still have the bracket divided by 5 times 8 is 40, plus 1, which is 41 over 5. Let's deal with the bracket. With the first example, the second example, and your try work I gave you for the example 3, I told you when you have the same numbers to be the denominators, do not find for LCM. But in this case, the numbers are different. So what do? You need to find for the least common multiple, which is the LCM. And you know the LCM for 3 and 2, the least among them is what? 6. Write out 6. 3 divided 6, 2 times 2, 7, 14, plus 2 divided 6, 3 times 3, 9, 27. You have 27. Divided by your 41 over 5. We now add the 14 plus 27 over 6. 27 plus 14. 27 plus 14 gives you 41. You have 41 over 6. Divided by 41 over 5. We want to simplify 41 over 6 divided by 41 over 5 in its lowest form. How do you do that? Unless we change the division sign to multiplication first. And in changing division to multiplication, I told you we need to reciprocate the right-hand side fraction. This is a situation whereby the denominator tends to be the numerator and the numerator tends to be the denominator. Let's do that. 41 over 6 times this tends to be the numerator and this tends to be the denominator. We have 5 over 41. What do? Let's see if we can cancel out. You all know that 41 and 41 can divide itself. You divide itself 1 and divide itself 1. 1 multiplied by 5 gives us 5. 6 multiplied by 1 gives us what? 6. With this, can we simplify again? You know, we can't simplify. What do? There is no need of changing this in mixed fraction too, because the denominator down there is what? A bigger number than the numerator. So we just leave the answer like this. 5 over 6. Hope you've gotten it. And I know you are marking yourself in the house. I know most of you had it wrong. Yes, I know. But as time goes on, you'll be getting it correct. We started in this way. We dealt with the brackets. We changed all the mixed fraction into improper. After changing, we looked for the LCM, which is the least common multiple for the denominators, which is the 3 and 2. And the denominators, the LCM was 6. We divided it, multiplied by the numerator. We divided this one to multiply by the numerator. We had 14 plus 27. We had 41 over 6. Divided by the 8 whole number 1 over 5 that we changed into the improper, which is 41 over what? 5. 41 over 5, for you to simplify in its lowest form, what do? We change the division sign to multiplication by reciprocating the right-hand side fraction, whereby the denominator tends to be the numerator, which is 5, and the 41, which is the numerator, tends to be the denominator. After doing that, we cancelled out and we had our answer to be 5 over 6 as in the simplified form. As at now, I know most of you are getting it. And it's very simple. When you follow your steps well, you get everything well. Up to this point, I'll be giving you a homework whereby you will try it in your various homes. And when I give it to you, please do it and submit it to our WhatsApp line that you see it on your screen. This is the homework. Take this homework and next week, I'll take it from each and every person. You find your answer and you will demand. You have 2 homeworks. This is the first assignment. The first assignment is 1 over 3 plus 5 over 12 minus 1 over 3 of 1 over 6. This is the first assignment. The second one is 1/4 plus 1/2 divided by 5/12 of one whole number 1/5. This is your second assignment. Making it 2 homeworks. As you can see, first one is 1/3 plus 5/12 minus 1/3 of 1/6. The second one is open bracket 1/4 plus 1/2, whereby the bracket is being closed, divided by 5/12 of one whole number 1/5. I know you'll be able to do it. You follow your steps well. With the first step, second step, the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the last step. When you follow them very well, I know with this, it will be easy solving it. I'll be taking your answers within this week. Forward it via our WhatsApp line as you are seeing it on the screen, and you'll be marked out. This is the end of our class, and I'm Boniface Sarkodieh, your facilitator for today's study note. See you same time next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.